Merkel Media.
This was all circulating around the base that a giant had been killed, but no one was supposed to talk about it.
I saw 3 long, bony fingers reach up underneath the door, curl up to grab it, and then disappear.
When he came over to me, dude, he slithered over to me.
And this giant comes out of the cave and they're all frozen. And he starts running and firing at this giant. Well, the giant moves. He's got a spear in one hand and he's running really fast and spears Dan and holds him up like this. Somebody yells, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. They basically decapitate him.
Got closer. When he got about 15 yards away from me, I raised that 12 gauge and I blowed his head off.
I feel something pulling at my leg, and I look over and there are 2 small gray entities pulling at me. And they're literally, I'm getting pulled off the bed.
I reached my hand into this bush and I touched air. Couldn't breathe and I couldn't move because I know I'm seeing a monster.
Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to the Confessionals podcast. I'm your host, Tony Merkel. Thanks for being here. If you have a crazy, wild experience you want to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is contact@theconfessionalspodcast.com. That's contact@theconfessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the contact section, and you can reach me that way as well. Either way works for me. Just get a hold of me. If you want more shows on a weekly basis, we got you covered. Every Thursday, we drop a members exclusive, and sometimes we do an overtime conversation with our Tuesday shows. Both those things are exclusively available to the members to theconfessionalspodcast.com or the YouTube channel. 2 different locations, but it's the same content no matter where you go. Confessionalspodcast.com/join or YouTube. All right, friends, today is a very exciting day because for months, I think probably 6 to 8 months, I've been working on creating a Merkel Media apparel line, and it is finally ready for the public to have. Merkmerch.com, 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 link in the description of the bio for this episode. That is where you can get all the Merkel Media apparel. We have 4 different shirts available and a hat. Over the years, people have been wanting t-shirts. I've never done it consistently for a few reasons. One, because a lot of the third-party companies just gave you a lot of bad quality stuff and it wasn't consistent. Then I went to doing it myself, but then I quickly found out how much time it takes to actually pack up orders and ship them. I don't have that kind of time. So I finally found the answer. I worked out a deal with one of the world's most leading apparel line companies, and they are now in charge of all the Merkel Media apparel. It is already made, stocked on a shelf in a warehouse. When you put your order in at merkmerch.com, somebody will go pick your order off the shelf and ship it to you within days. So no longer waiting for weeks for something to arrive. You put the order in, and possibly within the next 24 to 48 hours, it'll be on your doorstep, but definitely within a week, because these people, their job is to ship the stuff to you when you put the order in. It's just waiting there to be worn by you. So go ahead, check it out. Merkmerch.com. Very excited about it. I love it. And please, if you buy something off Merkmerch.com, go ahead and post some pictures on Instagram, tag the account, and we'll share those pictures because we want to see everybody wearing our apparel, and we want to share it with the world and let the people know who are the real ones at the Confessionals fan base. All right, friends, today we have Lee Hample coming on the show, and he is somebody I was fascinated by. I was on an X Space talking about Dogman, and somebody came on that X Space and asked me if I ever heard of Lee, and I hadn't. So I reached out to Lee. He came on the show to talk about his property because he purchased property right off Bray Road, 30 plus acres of farmland. He had no idea about the Beast of Bray Road, which is like a dogman creature in Wisconsin that's been legendary roaming the area. He had no idea about it until somebody told him, you know, you have the beast on your property. And that's where it all started for him. And he started documenting it. He has thousands of documented proofs of this creature and mysterious phenomena on his property. Black mist, white mist, He even has a picture he wouldn't show me on camera. I have to go to him for him to show it to me. But supposedly, he has a picture of a UFO and there's a being inside of it. I found this conversation fascinating, and I know you're going to love it. So let's get to Lee right now. All right, today we have Lee Hample on the show. Lee, how are you, sir?
Hello, glad to meet you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, I'm glad you're here.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. So this is our second time doing this. We had tech issues, and to be honest with you, Lee, I don't know if it was your end or mine because we're using a new service here to record, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was the service or if it was your end. So don't feel bad about it because I do look at this service. I'm like, I don't know about you yet. But listen, I want to let the audience know how this kind of came together. You're somebody that was not on my radar, and I was doing a live recording for a lady who was on my show before. She goes by the name Fringe, and she runs a Twitter account that documents her experiences and other people's. She hosts conversation about abductions and things like that. And which, by the way, I don't have in my notes here, but I want to talk to you about that alien, just whatever you could tell me, because you have an alien on camera, and I'm like, what? But during that space that I was doing the live show with her, people were, coming on and asking questions, and the topic was Dogman. And the one guy came on and he was asking me some questions, and he brought you up, and he said, I'm sure you know who Lee Hample is. And I was like, I actually don't know who Lee is. Please tell me more. And we started talking about you. And while he was telling me more about you, I was enthralled. And so I looked you up and I shot you a message on Facebook, friend request you. And I was fortunate that you got back to me and started the conversation with you about coming on my show, because I'll tell you, man, we had done a lot of interviews over the years. This week we're coming out with, I think, like 630 something. Wow. And we've done it every week for 7 years. And now we do 2 a week. And so I talked to a lot of people. And over the years, there was one person that I always wanted to talk to, but I just, for whatever reason, drug my feet on and never really got around to talking to her, which was Linda Godfrey. And when she passed away, very sad. I don't know if it was an expected thing, if other people knew. I didn't know she was sick. I didn't know she was going to be passing away. So I was really taken back by it. And so when she passed away, you're thinking, man, like, I really wish I would have had a chance to get to know her and talk to her. And I assumed with her passing that having somebody on my show that was so closely connected to the idea of Beast of Bray Road, I felt like that was just gone out the window. I'm not very good at doing my own research and finding people. I tend to let people find me because I'm not the guy that hunts people down. I don't know how to do that. And so, doing any kind of detective work to get somebody on my show that's had experiences in this area, it was pretty much out the window for me because I don't know how to do that stuff very well. And when you were brought up in connection to the Beast of Bray Road, I was like, well, now we're talking. Now we have another person we could possibly talk to. So I was very excited that you got back to me on the Facebook Messenger. And what I'd like to do is kind of lay the groundwork today. And I don't know who is familiar with you and who isn't. There are times that I bring people on my show that I assume everybody knows about, and then you get replies and comments saying, wow, I've never heard of this guy. I'm going to look him up. I'm going to get his book or whatever. And so I want to kind of introduce you to the audience today and let them know who you are, how you kind of came across all this stuff, and some of the experiences that you guys have had out there. You own a 30 acre farm, I believe is what you said. 35. Okay. And you buy this property and you don't know what is actually going on, and you're kind of introduced to this whole thing. So if you could just kind of talk to us and walk us into how you came to understand and learn about the Beast of Bray Road? Because I imagine before that, you were probably like, werewolves, dogman? No, impossible.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was a math computer science teacher for 35 years at Wakanda High School, Wakanda, Illinois, where I still live in Wakanda, Illinois. My farm I have is in Elkhorn. That'd be 35 miles away. And in 2000 on the story of that farm, in 2007, my family was interested in purchasing some property through with my mother for purposes of me baling hay. My wife and I in Wakanda here, we had a horse training operation. We had 40 horses, and I was renting property from her near Sycamore, Illinois, which was 35 miles away also. So in 2007, we purchased a property by Elkhorn, Wisconsin. I did not farm there until 2011. I farmed at my mother's property until, rest in peace, she passed away in 2010, and 96 years old. So then in 2011, I started farming the property in Wisconsin. Previously, I had a neighbor farm it on shares. I farmed it 2011, baled hay, 5,000 bales of hay. 2012, I farmed it. 2013, I farmed it. Nobody said anything about some cryptid creature being out in my field, except my youngest son said something to me one time. He said, "There's some crazy creature running around on your farm up there." Like, I just dismissed it, like in 2010, I think he told me. And I just dismissed it. And I said, "Well, when I see him, I'll let you know." Well, in 2013, September, I made a mistake of when to cut my hay for purposes of baling it. I cut it, and it was ready on a Sunday. Well, that particular Sunday, the Bears were playing the Packers. And so I don't follow football very much. I follow basketball. But so I called up the guys that were helping me from Wakanda, Illinois, and I said, "Can you guys help bale hay on Sunday?" And they go, No, the Bears are playing the Packers. No, we can't help. Well, it's supposed to rain on Monday. So I had a couple of guys from Elkhorn also were helping me, and I called them, and I said, "The Bears are playing the Packers. Are you guys able to bale hay?" They go, nope. We're getting all ready, and no, we're having parties. We can't help bale hay. Well, in that process, and I had to go up and bale the hay. I had to get it baled, and I was going to drop it on the ground because if it rains on it, it ruins the hay. Well, I was driving by my neighbor a half mile from my farm, and there were two of the farmers were standing out in the yard there, and I had talked with them, and I stopped in. I said, "What are you guys doing?" And they go, "Well, nothing, not much. Are you watching the Bears play the Packers?" And they go, "Oh, no. Well, we don't." I said, "You guys help me load the hay, and we can pull it in my shed, and get the hay loaded." "Oh yeah, we'll come up. We'll help you load it." And I said, "What compensation do you want?" And they said, "No, just buy us a case of Coors." "Okay, all right." So we baled hay. We baled 600 bales of hay, and we finished baling and standing at the end of the shed, and they were drinking the Coors and looking out at the field. I mean, we're in Wisconsin, so and the one gentleman says, "Lee, the werewolf lives back on your property." And I go, "The werewolf lives back on my property." I said, You're so full of it. Your eyes are brown." He goes, "No. And what are you talking about, the werewolf?" Well, he starts telling me, his wife saw it in 2010 with his mother-in-law and run in front of their car. This farmer saw it. This farmer was in his barn and had moved the hay bales and built a little house, and he saw it coming out of his barn. And this farmer saw it eating a raccoon on Bray Road. And I knew those farmers, and nobody had said anything, And I go, "Okay, sure." So then a couple of days later, I found a raccoon, a roadkill raccoon, and I threw it out at my property. So this has been September 2013, and I threw it in the tall grass. It was like this grass like 3 feet tall, and I went back a couple of days later, and it had been cut open all the way down, and all of its innards were gone. Well, it's down in this 3 feet of grass. There's no track in there. I said, so I'm thinking, the only thing you can do this is a hawk, And I go, okay. So I go back a couple days later. Well, now this raccoon is out of this whole nest, it's 3 feet of grass, and nothing knocked down, and it's put in a pile about 15 feet away. And he has a propensity for putting things in piles. He's done that quite a bit on my farm. And he put in a little pile. I go, well, this is not a hawk. And that started my research. I got a camera from my brother and started putting out roadkill raccoons, roadkill deer. I put out 20 roadkill deer, and every one of them have a story. 18 of them were carried away in front of working cameras. And I have some pictures of the beast, but I should have perfect pictures of him picking up a 150-pound deer and carrying it off. And that started my research, and I've been doing that research for the last 11 years now. And I have over 100,000 pictures on my computer. I have a log I've been keeping. I have the SD cards, hundreds of those. I have albums I've been keeping, and that's been my research for the last 11 years.
Wow. So that sounds like it goes from not interested, not believing to, okay, now I'm going to dedicate a lot of time to this and research this diligently.
Yes. If in 2013, 2013, if you had told me in 2024 that I'm going to tell you there's a 6.5 to 7 foot dog man walking around my property on 2 legs, and he's huge, and if you'd have bet me, you'd have my my pickup truck, you'd have my dog, you'd have my chainsaw. I would have bet anything. I would never be saying that, but I am saying that there's the 6.5 to 7 foot, well, several of them, at least 5 dogmen walking around on my property on bipedal, and they're 6.5 to 7 feet tall.
Jeez. So that's loaded. So how did you come?
Yeah.
How did you come to understanding that there's at least 5 of them?
I mean, I have tracks coming in my field, 2 at a time, and there's actually I have the 5-toed 7-pad track, which is a canid track, and you have some pictures of that.
Yes,
it's a 5-toed 7-pad track. I started finding that track in 2013, and there's no canid. I looked it up. There's no canid in the world or ever in the world that have 5-toed 7-pad track. It's 3 inches by 3.5 inches. It's large. And I've seen it hundreds of times. I've 14 people have come to my property and have seen this track and seen track lines of this 5-toed 7-pad track. So I know that it takes 2 foot to 4 foot steps, not strides, steps. Well, no one canid that we know of can take a 4 foot step.
No, there's not. And the steps, like you and I were talking earlier, the fact that you had what I find interesting and unique and good about your situation is that you have the foresight to document these things in the most responsible manner that you can. And it allows for so much credibility to your experiences that you've been having. Like you mentioned about having over 100,000 pictures. And I know there are certain pictures that you are holding on to for not releasing right now.
Many.
And I'm sure many, because if you have 100,000 pictures and you sent me a handful, I'm sure there's plenty that you're like, that doesn't go on the internet. And so totally understood for sure. Now, when it comes to let's just go with the seven pad track. You mentioned that, and you were talking about how you had sent it off to people and their explanation of it, trying to dismiss it. What was that explanation again? I know I'll butcher it.
Oh, where did we go?
You still good?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. Could you tell me that explanation that they gave you for the 7-toe track?
Well, I mean, I've tried to. I showed it to the DNR of Wisconsin, and they looked at it, and they looked at the track line, and they said, "Well, you have a abnormal coyote." And I go, "Abnormal coyote? This is that those tracks are 2 feet apart, steps, and look how big they are." He goes, and the DNR agent looked at me and he goes, "Lee," he said, as a DNR, we work with nuisance animals and we work with game laws. We don't work with unknown animals. We don't work with creatures or whatever you have here." And he got in his truck and drove away. So he didn't know what it was. And I've had other track experts, but the one track expert was at the Field Museum, the Museum of Science or Natural History Museum in Chicago. We contacted them. My brother Fred did, and they gave us their track expert out in Utah. And so I sent him we sent him those tracks, and he sent back an explanation of a blue track and a red track. And he said, well, first of all, he said, this is not a double hit from the same animal. This is one animal's going forward and the other animal came across it at an angle. And I go, and you have the sketch that he gave, which doesn't make any sense at all. And so I sent him some more tracks. We sent him some more tracks with the 5-toed 7-pad tracks, and he just said, "Well, I'm glad I'm able to help you." Well, I've tracked this thing many times, half mile, hundreds of times. So his explanation is just nonsense. So they don't know what to do with it, the track experts, because they've never seen a 5-toed 7-pad track that was, a feasible track, and it is. Very good documentation. I have castings of it.
Yeah, I mean, you've, like you said, castings, and it's been replicatable. Is this not just a one-off thing? It has been a constant thing. Is there, from your sightings, because we'll get into your 3 sightings that you've had, sure. But from your sightings, has there ever been anything that you've seen that would that obviously an upright walking dog is not normal, or at least as what we're taught. But outside of the traditional upright walking dog that we would picture in our head, has there ever been anything that you've seen that is like, oh, that's something I wouldn't have expected? Just like the pad. I mean, the seven pads is odd. Is there anything else that you have seen that's like, man, if I was picturing an upright walking dog, I wouldn't have pictured that?
Well, the straddle. The straddle is the distance. Like when we walk, we take our right foot and our left foot forward. The straddle is from the outside of our right foot to the outside of our left foot, from a straight line that is between our 2 footprints. The straddle in snow and in dirt with the beast is straight. They walk like a model. You see them in snow, and there's very, very little straddle. They're right, 1 foot right in front of the other foot, 2 to 4 feet apart, and there's no toe drag. In snow, your coyotes and your deer have a toe drag coming out. And these guys, this does not have a toe drag. He brings his feet very high out, and he walks very straight, which for a walking dog, if you see them on a carnival or a circus, they walk very widespread to keep their balance. And this beast, and I have pictures, you have some that I sent you, that are just straight line. It's just amazing that he can walk like that. That's very surprising. Very. And you hear different things when people have these encounters. And one thing that I hear people mention is specifically with Bigfoot is how it almost like it's
it glides. It's just a smooth motion. It's not clunky. And so it's kind of like what you're talking about, where it walking like a model in the straight line. It's not a clunky walk.
No, we can. I'd like to give you one of my sightings to
Sure.
describe that concept a little bit more, to explore that concept a little bit more. In May 5th, 2017, 10:30 at night, I turned out on my driveway to head into Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and I live on Bowers Road. My farm is a half mile long, and it goes over a quarter mile from Bray Road. So my farm is in between Bowers Road and Bray Road. And there's been many sightings on Bray Road also, or on Bowers Road also. Linda, bless her soul, she was at my farm many times. She has a book out. She wrote a book called Monsters Among Us by Linda Godfrey. And in that book, I'm Roy Smith. And I'm about 3 chapters in that book that she wrote about. The producer or whoever in charge of the book would not use my real name, so they used Roy Smith. But she has talked to many people that have seen, in between Bowers and Bray Road and in that general area. So May 5th, 2017, I pulled out on my driveway and I turned to go south. Well, right along the road, 2 electrical poles away, which is probably 200 feet or so, at the edge of the road, 3 feet off the ground, here's 2 orangish red eyes looking at me. Very round, very orangish red, bright orangish red eyes. And I know right away, this is not a deer or coyote, because they're yellow to yellow-green. And so I throw my brights on, I accelerate, and immediately it goes down the embankment. Now that embankment is 4.5 feet tall, and May 5th, the grass on top was a foot tall. So that's 5.5 feet. And it's looking over the top at me with these glowing, very high luminosity, orangish red eyes. And it's looking over the top at me. And I go, so I got my brights on. I'm going to see this guy, And I couldn't see any head or any body. All I could see were these eyes. Well, instantaneously, so fast, it's 15 to 20 feet out in the field. I mean, this like blink of an eye, and it turns and I see one red eye, just as bright as it was up by the road. Now my headlights are not reflecting that much out there. Now it jumps another 15, 20 feet. It turns again. I see one eye again, one very luminous, orangish red eye, and then it disappeared. But that movement was so fast. I thought it flew. It was so fast. I go, that thing flew. I mean, or did it just jump? I mean, still to this day, I don't know what it did. Well, I went there and I found tracks. So I know it was standing next to the field. It was standing at the edge of the field, but there's a lot of debris in the field. I could not find where it landed. But my son and I looked for tracks the next morning, and we found the 5-toed 7-pad tracks right there, right where I saw it. So I know the creature I saw that night had the 5-toed 7-pad tracks. And I became very ill that night too, very ill. And there's more to the story if you want to hear more.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
So after I saw it, I know I came out of my driveway at 10:30. And so then the creature, moved out into the field. So I drove down approximately, I think I did a half mile, turned around, came back, shined my lights out into the field, and it's just south of my barn. And of course I didn't see anything. Well, it's like, 10:45 or so. And I said, I got to call somebody. I want to, this is a witness report. I don't have any documentation, and an eyewitness report, you need to, get that immediately documented. So I pulled into my barn, pulled to the west end of my barn and parked, and the only person I could call is my brother Fred. he's been helping me with them, tremendous help over the years. And so I called him, and of course I explained in a very calm way. I just saw the red eyes. No. So I explained to him what I had just seen, and it was very important, to get that concept done. And that was in May, and that particular, and my his daughter always had a New Year's brunch. So we were at the New Year's brunch in 2018, it would have been. And we were talking and with my sister-in-law, and I told Fred, I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I called you guys late. Like it's probably like close to 11 o'clock." He goes, "Close to 11?" And my sister-in-law said, "No, it was like 12:20, 12:21. I looked at the clock, it was after midnight." I go, no, it wasn't after midnight. And he goes, "Yeah, it was." I go, "There's no way." And he said, "It was." So I call T-Mobile and I say, "All right, I need my records from May of 2017. They go, "Well, we don't have those records." I go, "Wait a minute. I saw Law and Order, and they went back 2 years, and they had the records." And the guy starts laughing at me. He says, "Well, we keep them for 30 days. So I was not able to get those records, but I have very good documentation from my, who I called. That I called after midnight. I lost an hour and a half of time. I don't know where I was at, and that's so unsettling. I'm real, that I think, but boy, it brings into a lot of new concepts when you you have documentation that you were someplace else for an hour and a half, and what you think you did, you didn't do. Oh man, I go, whoa, okay, this is a whole new ballgame now.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that what you remember then, because what you remember, what you described is, point A to point B, it was real quick, boom, boom. But there's this time period where you
would you repeat that?
Well, the experience that you had and stuff, I mean, it was very quick as far as getting to telling your brother and calling him.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you're calling your brother an hour and a half later, do you think that, I mean, there's so many different ways to think about this, but I mean, there could be the angle of you were so shocked that you don't remember just sitting there, just staring at the road or whatever. There's the idea, people could be thinking, oh, maybe he was abducted, and all that. I mean, there's people who talk about along the lines of abduction that they as in whoever that is, I don't know who the they is, but they doing the abduction is implanting screen memories so that you remember something that just didn't happen. You've had time to think about this situation. What are some conclusions that you've come to?
Oh, none. I mean, I wouldn't have any conclusion. I mean, science doesn't work that fast. This is only 5 years ago. Geez, 7 years ago. Science is not working that fast. I've lost time 3 times out there. That's been documented 3 times. And it's just, I know exactly what I think I know exactly what I did. I went down, pulled in, turned around because I wanted to shine my lights out in the field, came back in and called my brother. Now, I didn't do that. Where I was or what I did do, I have no way of documenting. I mean, I tried to check the GPS on my phone at that time in 2017, and I don't think I had it at that point, or it wasn't recording, or it wasn't still applicable 6 months later. But it's just, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. It's just unsettling that something that I think was real wasn't real. I can tell you what it wasn't. What I think I did and what happened are not the same.
Man, that definitely is unsettling. I've never experienced missing time myself. I lie. I did once, but it wasn't like in this kind of situation. I just, when I was in high school, we went up to the basketball course to play basketball. We had an hour, and it took, according to the clock, it took us an hour to play a game to 21, which is literally impossible because Tony back in the day could score buckets.
You guys are poor shots.
Yeah, very poor. So when you said you follow basketball, I knew you'd understand that reference. I said to the guys, I said, does anybody else think it's weird that we have to leave already and we only played one game? And they're just like, oh yeah. And nobody really cared to even talk about it. Other than that, I've never had any kind of dramatic missing time experience. I don't know what happened there. But I can imagine it's unsettling to have that and just not know it during an experience where you are seeing something like that and then having missing time. You mentioned having missing time 3 times, and having seeing this creature 3 times. Was missing time connected to each time you saw the creature?
The second time, the first time I had missing time, or the second time I had missing time was I was one of my helpers. We were tracking it. It had carried away a deer. We were tracking it through the neighbor's cornfield, and all of a sudden he was gone, and so we were, tracking it. And there was some mist in some of the pictures that I took. I couldn't find him. And we're in a cornfield. It's okay, so it's possible. All of a sudden, he's a quarter mile ahead of me, yelling my name. Lee, where are you? I go, where are you? Where? He said, I'm up here. I said, well, how'd you get there? He said, well, I walked. I said, this isn't possible. That we were 20 feet apart, and the next time we saw each other, we were a half mile apart. Well, yeah, close to, they're probably a half mile apart. Yeah,
that's wild.
And the other time that I lost missing time was in 2020, and I was filming an infrared. I can't show you this, but I was filming an infrared, what I call ghost fire. They look like fires, but they're only through my infrared scope. They're crazy, and in that process, there was a production crew there who was out in my field, and they didn't see the ghost fire, infrared fire. There's no fire out there, but we just, there was time about an hour and a half that I actually was on camera, and I did not know I was on camera. And one of the crew members that were there, they came back. And they were out there for about 2.5 hours. And the next day I talked to him. And he said, yeah, we didn't stay long. We stayed about 45 minutes. I said, you guys were out there after 11:30. Well, no, we were only out there like 45 minutes. I said, oh, no, you were out there 2.5 hours. And he's on camera for this documentation. And he said, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. And my game camera took pictures of them in my field where they said they never were. I said, you guys are, here's a picture of you guys on the game camera, at 10 o'clock. They go, no, we weren't there. Well, there's your game camera. So that mystery is wide, continues.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right. So it sounds like every time you're dealing with, it's not like I was just, picking strawberries and I had missing time. You were dealing with this phenomena, and that's when the missing time happened.
Yeah. But I've dealt with other times, and I have not had missing time. So.
Sure. It leads me to my next question. Now I'm going to get weird on you, Lee. I know you're a man of science, but I got to ask you a question. What are your thoughts on the idea of portals?
Well, mathematics says there's multi-universes. They've proven there's multi-universes. We're not the only universe. Our 3-dimensional universe is not the only universe. Of course, Einstein proved there were black holes, 50 years before we ever found a black hole. The University of Wisconsin has a grant now to work on some way of proving that there are other universes, either parallel universes to ours or coexisting universes to ours. It may take 50 to 100 years before that conclusion is it will terminated or found or not found. But I mean, like I say, it took 50 years to find the first black hole after Einstein said there's black holes out there. That's common in science. So multi-universes is very, very acceptable. It's proven mathematically. And I have pictures of portals. I have pictures of light coming through portals.
Oh.
I have pictures of I guess that only I call them is like a manifestation of a figure coming out of orbs.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, there's absolutely portals out there, and I mean, I have pictures of them. I've a light coming through this portal. It's elliptical or oval shaped, and it's I have two cameras that took pictures of it.
Jeez, are these like game trail cam pictures?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. So this is fantastic because I thought if I was going to bring up portals, I was like, well, I'm 35 minutes in this conversation. I'm about to sink it, but I got to ask him about portals. So I'm glad I didn't sink it.
No, that's well within the realm of talking about a multi-universe, that there would be some way to transcend from one universe to another. Are three-dimensional? Is there four-dimensional, two-dimensional, ones that don't have any dimension? I think so. I mean, math has proven that. And I'll be tracking in snow, and I'll be following the tracks, which I know are the beast, and they'll just stop. They will just stop. There'll be a track, and I'll look in the snow all around, and there's no more tracks. Or they'll just start. They'll land, the 2 feet will land side by side, and they'll just walk off in my field. And so it has the ability to transport itself from I think from this universe to another one. And I have pictures of it materializing in front of my game camera. 3 pictures. The first picture, there's 1 second for 3 pictures, a third apart. 1 picture, there's nothing in it. It's a night picture. The next picture, there's a translucent figure in it. And the third picture, which would be 1 second later, it's a solid black figure on my camera. So it's materialized right in front of my camera.
Let's take a second to talk about our sponsor today, which is Simply Safe. And listen, if you are an owner of a property in Wisconsin near the Bray Road, you might want to have Simply Safe on your home. That way, you know if Dogman's coming, you know if the Beast is coming, you know if aliens are coming, and also you can catch it on camera and record it if they do come on your property. In fact, friends, listen, in all seriousness, I do have Simply Safe in my house. I've had it for years. They've been a sponsor for years, and I'm glad I have it on my house because we've had things happen being a public figure that we are just really glad that we have the security system on our house. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I was gonna, but I'm not. Just know that I'm really glad that I have Simply Safe in my house because it makes me feel a lot more safe and secure knowing that I can peek in at my house anytime I need to. I know when somebody's coming down my driveway and all that good stuff. Listen, they also have 24/7 professional monitoring. So if somebody were to break into your house and you're not home, they can interact with the thief, the burglar, over the camera system so that they can try to deter the person from going any further, all while they're dispatching police to your house. This is a system that has been tried and true and trusted by many professionals all over the world. And if you want to get your Simply Safe system right now, we got a special deal for you. Simply Safe has given me and my listeners real peace of mind, and I want you to have that too. Get 20% off any new Simply Safe system when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring. Just visit simplysafe.com/confessionals. That's simplysafe.com/confessionals. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Wow. Yeah, I mean, so what you just shared directly connects these things to let's just call it a phenomenon that we don't understand scientifically yet. Is that fair to say? I mean, because we don't understand how to do it.
Scientifically, we don't have that ability. Yeah, 100 years from now, we may have. If there's an alien, I mean, I told you I picture aliens in spacecraft. If they're 100 years, 1,000 years ahead of us technologically, they would have that ability. But why would they use my field as that transport? That's a question. But very fair to say, in 100 years, we may be able to transcend one universe to another universe. Sure.
Yeah. Do you think, and I don't know what your extent of knowledge is when it comes to the other areas that aren't your property, but do you think that it's there's something about your property or something on your property that allows that transfer from one parallel world to another, or whatever it is? Or is it several locations in that area? Or do you think it's the whole area in general that people are experiencing this thing, that for whatever reason, that whole area in general, these things can pop in and out there for whatever reason, whether it's a thinning of a veil or some kind of energy or whatever?
Well, I don't know if there's any reason why it would be my property. It's a farm field. It's a hay field, 35 acres. Certainly the beast has been seen in an area 5 miles around there. My one neighbor saw an orange orb come across the field on his property, which is about a half mile away. And people have said, "Oh, it's on the ley line." So some people have said they do the ley lines, and I don't know. They don't seem to do anything, unnatural to me. He said, "Well, yeah, they go like this here." I said, "Well, they do that over there. They do that over there. They do that over there." And there's something about, I think it's the 38th parallel or something. See, you're on that. I said, "Well, so is all this rest of the United States is on that parallel." So those concepts, I have not seen any validity to those concepts. As far as other locations, I have a general knowledge of them, but I have not studied other locations or other people's sightings. Linda Godfrey, that was her job. She was a journalist, and she did excellent. She wrote 20 books of interviewing people and recording that history, which is very important. Of course, in a court of law, if you have enough eyewitnesses, they accept that as truth. It can be used for validity of a situation or making a decision in a court of law. So there is validity to eyewitness. But on the other hand, eyewitness is what your mind sees. We don't see with our eyes. The only thing our eyes do is let the light through, and our mind interprets what we're looking at. And your experience, my experiences have all been different. And many times we'll look at the same event or concept and totally see different idea there. So, the eyewitness has to be really, really cohesive to have it to be a valid argument. And from what I see, there are people who have seen this, in many other places, and they're very similar. Yes.
So when it comes to the idea, like you said about how you have on picture where it's almost like it's popping in, like it's translucent at some point. Is there and this is completely theory, I guess, but do you think that they are in a different state of existence somewhere else, or are they physical somewhere else, and they just when they make that transfer, that's when they're more translucent?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're obviously in this 3-dimensional world. They pick up 150-pound deer and carry them away. They make tracks. I have visual sightings of them walking and moving. 3:30 in the afternoon, I took pictures with my iPhone 11 camera, a quarter mile away for 3.5 minutes, and I have those pictures. Everything I saw it do with my eyes, I have on the camera. Now, people say, "Well, it's too far away." Well, it's a quarter mile away from where I was standing. Why didn't you take video? Well, video is 8 megapixels on an iPhone, and a photo is 18 megapixels. So I wanted the clearest picture that I could. So I did not take a video; it would just be a brown blog. But with this, with the photo, you have more detail that you can see. So, what was the question?
I don't know. It was something about translucent, right? Physical state.
Translucent. So yeah. So it was, and it absolutely is in this 3-dimensional world that we live in. I've seen it there. And it also can move into another dimension, a parallel, or another location that's not in our visualization, our visual sighting.
Man.
Yeah.
So I'm going to refrain from going down this rabbit hole with you because this is my bag. Like, I love talking about the interdimensional stuff and what is on the other side kind of thing. But I'm going to reel it back in before I get lost in this. And because I want to make sure, I want to talk to you about the third time you saw this, which if I remember correctly, you said it was 2021. Was that right?
Okay. The second time I saw it was May 11th, 2021. First time, May 5th, 2017. Second time was May 11th, 2021. Third time was, May 20th, 2023. So the second time I saw it, we want to talk about that one?
Yeah. So I was getting confused. So the second time is the one you haven't mentioned yet, right?
Is when I what?
The second time you saw it is when you haven't mentioned that story yet, right?
That's when I took pictures with my iPhone. It was a quarter mile away. That was the second time I saw it. So that was May 11th, 2021. And I pulled out my field to check my SD cards, and I looked over in the neighbor's field, which is next to a thick wood that's in between my farm and it's on his field. It's a heavy, thick wood that has blackberry bushes in it. You can't walk through it. And that then Bray Road is on the other side of that woods. And I looked over in the field, and here in the field is a black, brown, large objects, animals there. I knew right away, again, it's not a deer or coyote. And we have no bear in southern Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin. And I knew where I wasn't bear either because it was huge. And we don't have grizzlies for sure. We have black bear, they're small. But in northern Wisconsin. But so I got on my truck, I started taking pictures with my iPhone. Now, what I saw with my eyes was it was crouched down, and so I started taking pictures. It stood up, walked away from me, walked west from me at the full height. Then when it got over next to the woods, it dropped down on all four and went into the woods. That's what I saw with my eyes, and that's what I got on my camera, my pictures. You can look into them. The sighting, and the gentleman who helps me in Chicago, who was a cameraman, he said, "Oh, you send me that picture." He said, "I'll tell you how big it is." He said, "I have an app that will," and maybe you have the app. I have an app that will take into account the focal length and all this, and it'll tell me how large that object is, or that animal is, or creature is in your picture. So I sent him the picture, telling him, "Don't send this to anybody else." But no, he's good. And he sent back, he said the app says it's 6.5 to 7 feet tall, and the shoulders are 3 to 3.5 feet wide. That's what the computer app says. And that's how big it looked to me. I was getting shack out of it. This thing's as big as shack. As the quarter mile away, it's huge. So I call my brother Fred. I go, "Okay, I gotta tell you, here's an eyewitness again. This 3:30 in the afternoon, so this isn't at night." So I called my brother Fred. I sent him some of the pictures. I said, "Okay, here, I just saw the beast, and I want to go over there. I want to go walk over and see if I find tracks, as I did the first time. I found 5 to 7 bad tracks. So I want to go over there. So stay on the phone. If he comes out of the woods, and just call the coroner, and I'll become Wisconsin folklore. That dumb farmer chased it in the woods that came out." So I walked over there talking to him on the phone, talking to the beast. Okay, if you're in there, come on out. If you are some huge guy who's hiding on me, come on out. We can talk, And I walked over there, and right where I had seen him and where he had walked to the woods on 2 feet, 2 legs was the huge 5-toed 7-pad tracks were right there. And where he was crouched down, it was very dry, May 11th, 2021. And where he's crouched down, he drew circles in the ground. He had drawn circles. I have pictures. He drew circles in the ground. Looked like with his finger, or a stick. So that was weird. And here were the 5-toed 7-pad tracks. So I know twice this creature I've seen had the 5-toed 7-pad track. They're the only tracks there.
Wow.
Time,
So drawing the circles in the ground, I mean, I'm not going to venture to guess what that is. I don't know why, but it does show that I think traditionally when people hear about, Dogman, Bigfoot, this idea, it's this monster, this beast in out there that, however you want to go from there. But what you just said, there's a level of intent and intelligence behind this thing that I don't know. I have a hard time saying that this would be just some creature like a wolf or a coyote out there. We just, it's very rare and we just don't know what they are because like normal animals don't draw in the dirt.
No.
They don't cut open raccoons to take out the insides. This is not normal. And I think sometimes we were talking, I think it was off air, but you and I were talking about paradigms and like how a lot of times people want to fit things into their own paradigm so they can understand it. And so they create and invent new things just so that they can fit this new piece of the equation in a comfortable way. I don't know how you go about fitting anything that you just shared into a comfortable way of a normal type of thing. It seems very abnormal. And then when you introduce all the other abnormal things with this topic on your property, not just the topic in general, but specifically your property, it's very much, for lack of better terms, generically paranormal, outside the realms of our understanding of normal. You've caught in, let's talk about this actually a little bit. You've caught in the mists on camera, on your game trail cams. And you can talk about the situations involved with these white and black mists. But before you do that, I guess, do you equate the mist to the beast, or do you think they're two separate things, or do they work hand in hand?
Well, of course, geographically, they're in the same location. The mist is when I put out the 20 deer, the mist would come and the deer would be moved or removed or gone in that process, and you could not see what was behind that mist. So I think very much they're correlated. And the one picture I sent you, and I think it's 2013, November 2013, Linda wanted to come out to my farm, and I said, okay, let's go. I have a deer out there. Let's go out there and check the deer. Okay. So we drove out there. We got out of my truck. Now, there's also a smell we haven't talked about. 4 or 5 times the smell has come. One time the smell come, my tractor quit running. Another time, the smell come, my snowmobiles wouldn't go. So there's also a smell associated with this. So we got out of the truck and I said, "Oh, Linda, the smell that's that smell." She said, "That's a terrible smell." Well, anyway, excuse me. Only I can quite is it's a dog skunk urine that's been in the sun for 4 or 5 days, because it gets in your nose, you can't get rid of it, and it's a very memorable smell. And I said, I'll walk over to the deer and see if the deer smells. And it was cold. It was November. It was, I knew it wasn't the deer, but I walked over to check. So I walked over and looked at the deer, and the deer didn't smell at all. Of course, I couldn't smell anything then because of my nose probably. So I went over the camera and took out the SD card, and Linda and I got in the truck and put it in the computer, and we started looking at it. Well, at 10 o'clock, the mist started appearing on my camera. Of course, they're false triggers because there's no animal in there. Moultrie says it's got to be heat and motion by 1,000 of pictures that don't have heat and motion in it. But I said, oh, that mist is here at 10 o'clock. Well, then we're moving up to 2 o'clock, and that's when we got there. I said, 2 o'clock. I said, the mist is still here. Linda, that's when we came. She says, oh, yeah. And so when I got out of the truck to walk up to the deer, it was a bright, clear day. Half of my body is cloaked. Walking up to the deer, you can only see the top half of my body. And when I went over to take out the SD card, which was 8 seconds later, it was bright and clear. So I think they're very much related, because that day was the smell and the cloaking of the mist that I was in, and absolute proof that it can, just cover up an object, because half of my body is gone.
Do you, knowing that you have on camera black mist and white mist, do you think that there's a difference between the two, or do you think it's just, different creatures or time of day or what?
That's a good question. I have brown mist too.
Okay.
And I have multicolored mist. So, the black mist came, the deer is picked up and carried 10 feet and thrown between two trees. And that deer was mutilated. The front quarter was cut off and taken away. Oh, I think you have that picture. And coyotes eat the back end, or they eat the innards, because that's where the better protein is, and the more muscular meat is. They don't cut off the front quarter and carry it away. In that picture that I think I sent you, shows that. And that happened many times, that tongue would be gone, or the eyes would be gone, or a portion of the deer would be gone, cut off and carried away,
Man, that's wild. The fact that you catching, it's just, everything that you're catching on camera is proof that the world is really bizarre, and that there can be a lot of high strangeness going on in one area. I wouldn't mind maybe transitioning here into some of this UFO talk a little bit, because they're a very real factor on this property. And I at some point, I would love to get your opinion as if you think, again, those two things are connected, the beast and the UFOs. But in one set of pictures you and I were talking about earlier, they are connected, because it's pictures in itself. There's that you have, I think it was the pectoral muscle in the picture of this thing, broad daylight, and then in the sky behind, 3 different pictures, you have UFOs in the sky, and they're moving incredibly fast. Tell us about this whole situation.
The one, the pectoral muscle did not have it. It was the one that had the head and the shoulder.
Okay.
It had the UFO pods in the background. Yeah. The camera took a picture 7 minutes before a black figure came very close to the camera. There's a blackberry bush that it actually moved out of the way and came up very close to the camera, and the camera is 5 feet off the ground, and it's right about at his shoulder. So it makes him, 6.5 feet tall. And in the picture that took 7 minutes before, there's nothing in the sky. It's just a clear blue sky. And when the creature appears above his shoulder and in the sky, there's anywhere from 2 to 5 pods that are white with a black either figure in them or black line in them. And they move in the 1 second that those 3 pictures are taken. They're a third of a second apart. So there's absolute proof there that 7 minutes before, there's nothing in the sky, and then the cryptid comes, the beast comes, and here are these pods flying in the sky. So there's proof they're right there at the same time.
So, okay, there's proof that they're there at the same time, but what does Lee say? What does Lee say that they are connected? Are UFOs dropping the beast off on your property? Is that what you're saying? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. That's what you think. I'm 100% okay with it.
It's hard as some science element to bring in what you're talking about. I can have, in math, we have assumptions, postulates, theorems, and proofs, and that. I have so much evidence that there's, the beast is walking and stops. There's so much evidence that the beast starts. There's so much evidence that things are there, and then they actually are levitated away. I mean, 150-pound deer on totally, I put out black dirt and put the deer on the black dirt so I could see tracks. And that deer was levitated and taken away. There was no tracks there whatsoever. And that happened many times with the 20 deer that I put out, roadkill deer. So there's a lot of evidence that there's a force or a concept that is removing both the beast and even deer from the area by levitation.
It just hit me now. This area is just very reminiscent of Skinwalker Ranch. Are you familiar with Skinwalker Ranch?
Sure.
Have you been told that before?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you been kind of connecting those dots before, that this area has a lot of the same activity as Skinwalker has?
Linda said that. Linda told me that originally before this series came on. She knew all about Skinwalker Ranch. I've had a gentleman who has written books about Skinwalker Ranch. He's been to my farm. He said, "Wow," he said, we don't have, Skinwalker Ranch doesn't have anything compared to what you have here.
Yeah.
But that was the end of it. He looked at not all my pictures, looked like 100 of them, but and he's actually been there and had some experience. He wanted to stay out one night and he got chased out. Too many weird things that happened, and he and his girlfriend, they left. So.
This is your farm that they left.
Yeah.
Who was this? Who was this person that wrote the book about Skinwalker Ranch?
I won't give his name. But
okay, no worries.
Now he's on Blind Frog, the mystery of Blind Frog Ranch. He's doing that one now. He's on that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if I ever have the opportunity to visit your farm and I get scared and run away, the whole world will know because it'll be documented on camera. So,
well, did you watch? Eric Mintel?
Yeah. I was just talking to him earlier today.
They only lasted 45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Look,
whoa!
If you watch the show, Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well, not the follow-up, but the first one, the Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well, they lasted 45 minutes. No,
45.
And Eric, and they came into my shed, and he and Dominic were both like, "Oh, Lee, they don't say that much on the video, but they were shaking."
Man.
Yeah, look at, if you haven't seen that video yet, right?
No, I haven't.
The Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to look into that.
It's a good bit. It's 25 minutes. Other people, Caps, that's a group in Wisconsin, and they were out for like an hour, and they came in, and I said, "I thought you guys were going to stay out the night." They had this big band and all this equipment and stuff, and he goes, "Well, we were asked to leave." And I go, "Asked to leave? It's my property. Nobody can ask to leave. I own the property. You can't be asked to leave." Well, it wasn't a person that asked us to leave. And they had a ghost box, which I don't know the technology of a ghost box very much, but in that ghost box, it said, "Please leave" several times. "Please drive" several times. And and then all their batteries went dead. So they said, "Okay, all right, we got to get out of here before our truck doesn't run." So that batteries going dead is very common.
Yeah, we tend to bring a lot of batteries when we go places for that reason. It's a common thing, and it's something goes on when you're doing this stuff where the batteries get drained, and I think the common thought is that whatever is there is using the energy from the batteries to manifest itself. I tend to not know either way, obviously, but I sometimes I don't know if it's that simple of an explanation. But listen, yeah, I mean, you're talking about 45 minutes, an hour. Has anybody ever camped out there in a tent for several nights successfully?
In a tent?
Yeah.
Connie Willis she's Coast to Coast. Do you know Connie Willis, Coast to Coast? I've been on her show twice. Coast to Coast, the radio station?
Yes.
Okay. She had a camper. They stayed out 1 or 2 nights. Something hit on the side of their camper, but they were in the RV, so they made it. I've been out there in RV. Pat Spain was out there in a tent. He didn't make it through the night. No.
Really? I'm going to call Pat and talk to him about this. I'm going to ask him about this.
Oh, yeah. Ask Pat about it. I mean, he was there. He did a show. He was there. Yeah, ask him.
I will. I'm going to
ask him
because I'm going to do some. I'm going to do some of my recon because I want to know what kind of challenge I have if I make it to your farm. Because man, like we went to Skinwalker. Well, we didn't go to Skinwalker Ranch. We weren't allowed to, but we went to Space Wolf Research, which butts up against Skinwalker Ranch. Ryan Burns owns a property there for the same purposes to research the area, and we spent a week out there, and we had some pretty gnarly experiences. We spent an entire week out there in a 12-man tent. And so it was interesting for sure. But I wanted to talk to you about this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
David Weatherly. You know David Weatherly?
I know the name. I don't know him personally.
He's like a world traveler to find paranormal. He and another gentleman made it about an hour and a half, and they made a video of what was happening to him, and they were like, that's on YouTube. I don't know. It's called David Weatherly. He just said there's places like this where the Native Americans say you don't go, and I don't think you should, and they left. So,
man,
right?
That's wild.
We don't know. So anyway,
I mean, they say don't go, and yet here we are, and Lee has an entire farm and home there. He lives there. No, I live in Wakanda. I live 35 miles away. I just have a barn there and I bale hay. But I need to bale hay for the horses and cows and sheep and goats I have here in Wakanda, so Illinois. So gotcha. So you do have a safe. So you have a safe haven, though. You have a place of refuge.
I'm in my pole barn. I have a sleeping area in my pole barn. Yes. Yeah.
Have you ever had any experiences where you had an experience out there, and if you didn't know any better, it seems like something followed you back home?
An orb was in my truck one time, and it came in my window, and I had video of it come in my window. It came in my truck, and then it disappeared. They flash out. They'll flash in and flash out. I have hundreds of videos of these orbs. And so I drove back to Wakanda, and I got here, and I thought, well, I'll just, I have a small farm out here, it's 8 acres. And so I pulled in, and I said, well, I'm going to just check my truck for, that orb. Maybe, I don't know. He flashed out inside my truck. So I started my video. I started, recording, and he popped up. He was in my truck. He stayed there. He was there the whole time. I guess he was there again, going around. So,
jeez.
The hitchhiker effect. I mean, dreams or nightmares. Sometimes, yeah. I don't know. None of my family has had any experience, and I would be very concerned if they did. So,
yeah, for sure. Would you stop if they did? Stop looking into it?
Oh, that'd be That would be a strong consideration. Yes, yeah. My youngest son, has been there with me, and he's had experiences there. My wife, she goes there. She always takes the dogs, with her when she goes to get hay, or if she's going to the farm, especially if she's going to be there early morning or nighttime.
Yeah.
I told my neighbor, who has lived there her whole life in that area, when in 2016, when I got a picture of a very tall figure on my camera, a quarter mile away, and nobody knew I had any cameras out for 3 years. I told her, I said, there's that creature is out there, that Beast of Bray Road, and she would go for walks. She asked, if they could. She had a dog. If we could walk your hayfield, sure, at any time, walk around. I don't care. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I don't go if the dog won't go." So people live with it.
Wow. Listen, I'm new to East Tennessee. I told you I just moved here 2 years ago. With my job, with what I do, it keeps me really busy. I have not got a chance to really mingle with the locals as much as I want to. And I have always been curious if I could build up a network in this area of people who have had these types of experiences, and to further understand how they go through just life in general, knowing that this stuff is happening. I've talked to people from the area, but I don't have a whole lot of friends in the area, if that makes sense. Like I know it sounds weird because a lot of people know who I am, but I don't have a whole lot of friends. And so to communicating with people and stuff, I don't really talk to a whole lot of people. And I'm hoping that over the next 5 years, we can get the structure built for the company where I can maybe take a little bit of back seat on some things that I have to do on a daily basis and have more time for what I call fun, this kind of stuff, and
Sure.
and learn about the locals and what they've experienced. Because the idea of somebody living with it, and it's just like second nature for them, as somebody from the outside looking in, is so foreign and bizarre. Coming from the Philadelphia area, where doing what I do, I felt like nobody even knew who I was in Philadelphia. I felt like nobody listens. I mean, numbers wise, statistically, I can see people listen in the Philadelphia area, but it wasn't, the culture up there isn't conducive for this kind of conversation. Here it is, and people do talk about this stuff. It's very interesting to hear in the different locations throughout the country where this kind of stuff happens, the way people are handling it personally. Before we start winding down here, I do want to hit on one more picture that you sent me, and you called it the Weber Grill.
Okay, sure.
And I don't know because you have like over 100,000 pictures, right? So I imagine you have more pictures of UFOs, but
Definitely.
This one is, if you have clearer pictures of UFOs, I'd be impressed, because this is broad daylight moving through the picture. So you have several pictures of it, and it's game trail camera. And it looks like a metallic object to me. Is that how you perceive it too?
Well, yeah, it looks very metallic. Yes. And that's a very clear one. I have other ones, but that's a very clear one. And that particular picture, that the camera was set again. I set it. It gives a trigger, takes a picture in 3 seconds, and it was triggered twice. I don't know by that object. It was triggered twice. That object's like 1/8 of a mile away, and it flew towards that tree. And the next picture, 1/3 of a second later, it's in front of that tree, and then the next set of pictures, the 3 pictures flying away again. So it's not a balloon. It's not a drone. It's an object that is defying gravity with no apparent way to do that. I mean, it's flying on a horizontal line and turning without any gravitational effect on it. So it's flying. Yes, that's a very good picture. That's a very classic, I think, UFO type picture. It's not real big. That's about 8 feet across. When it flies in front of the tree, you can get a concept of the diameter of it. And it's about 8 feet. So it's not a big UFO. But we have no technology that can do what that did in front of my game cameras.
All right. So what you just said, do you feel like we don't have that technology, or we just don't have access to that technology publicly? Because I feel like our government probably has been reverse engineering this stuff for a while.
Well, of course, I don't have any knowledge of that. I mean, certainly you hear I think that Lethard, the guy, talk about Area 51 and things of this type, but I'm sure a lot of that's classified information. Unless one of the presidents bring it out in their garage, we won't know what it is. But I know that's another story. But could there be a technology that could fly and defy Bernoulli's principle? We don't have. I don't know if we have that. I mean, that does not have wings on it. It's not using air pressure to stay afloat. There's no way that could stay up by any of the Bernoulli laws.
You're such a unique person to have be having this property and these experiences, because like, if it was, say I own the property, I have no science degree. You are a math computer science teacher. I like you view things in a way that I personally wouldn't have view it, just because I have no background to do that. I find it interesting that you landed on this property and this stuff is happening. This picture is super clear, and the way it's positioned in the tree line, you can actually see it's not like it's something that's caught in a tree and hanging there. There's nothing connecting it. It is absolutely there. And you say it's 8 feet. It was 8 feet wide. I mean,
that's best I can tell when it flies in front of the tree. And yes.
So on the topic of UFOs, and this one particularly, or whatever, we talked about the interdimensional aspect of things, portals. Where do you feel like this thing's coming from?
Well, I mean, we have the universe is 62.5 billion light years across. 62.5 billion light years.
That's
now,
large.
We used to think it was 100 million light years across until the latest telescope has been able to go out and do more. I guess would be measuring, and now the universe at 62.5 million years across. The number of solar systems, the number of stars, is more than the number of grains of sand on Earth.
Jeez.
Take all the Sahara Desert, all the beaches, take all those grains of sand, and the universe has more stars than that. And every star, the average number of planets, as far as I can tell now with the newer telescope, which is now not distorted by our atmosphere, there's approximately 2.5 planets per star. So there's 2.5 more planets in our universe than there are number of grains of sand on Earth. Now, we're approximately 3 billion years old, I think. It takes 36 billion light years to get across the whole universe. So in this process of having a universe that is that huge, it's certainly feasible to me that there is technology which is far advanced to what we have. And would they want to come here with that technology? Would they want to study our technology? Would they want to study us? Well, sure. They're individuals or beings like we are. I mean, they're part of the same, molecules and atoms that we are. The whole universe has a relationship through its through the atoms and through the electrons, neutrons, and protons. That's what the universe is made of, and that's what we're made of. We have star material in us as atoms and as electrons and neutrons and protons. So would they be interested in feel that they would have an interest in coming and visiting and seeing? So that's why I try to talk with the Beast, and I think that it's a product of this this whole universe. It is. I mean, there's tracks and he carries stuff away. I've seen him. So I would say there is a concept to that.
Absolutely. Okay. So one last thing I want to go into before we end here, and that is something I have not seen. I would love to see it one day, but the alien picture that you referenced to me a couple of times.
You come to my farm, or we make out a disclosure financial concept. But
I got you.
It's a doorway, standing in the doorway of a UFO that is like 10 feet off the ground.
Really? Wow. How big was the UFO in the picture?
I'm sorry, what? Huge. Yeah. It's, I mean, the camera only got the lights of it. I mean, but then there's a doorway, which could be a portal, because if you look through the doorway and zoom in, you can see a different background than in my field is. So it's either in a doorway of a rectangular doorway of that's on the UFO, or it's in a doorway to another universe.
Jeez. Woo! I love it. On that note,
Okay.
Mr. Lee Hample, I appreciate you joining me on the show today and sharing and introducing yourself to my audience. I have a feeling one way or another, you and I are going to be talking again in the future, because
Sure.
holy cow, you have a lot going on, and I'm absolutely interested.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a very enjoyable conversation. Thank you.
Well, that's the show, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy, please share the show with your friends. I don't care where or how you share the show. Just share the freaking show. If you enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. I'm sure you did too. So share that bad boy around town. Also, go ahead and check out mercmerch.com, our new apparel line. We got 4 t-shirt designs in there, ones with the logo on it. And we also have a hat logo in there as well. This is very exciting news. I absolutely love it. I have one of these t-shirts in hand right now. If you're listening to this right now, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and then check out what I'm about to show you, because there's nothing generic about these shirts. We even have Merkle Media labeling on the inside neck. There's nothing generic about this. We built these from top to bottom. This is actually an awesome t-shirt. It's called the Lichen Pack. And we even have the hand design on the back neck and stuff like that. And this is actually my favorite t-shirt we offer. In fact, I like this t-shirt more than the logo t-shirt itself. It's called Decide for Yourself. 6-fingered alien head, handprint. Absolutely awesome. I absolutely love it. And you got the logo on the back neck like that. It's just really cool stuff. I've been working on this for a very long time, keeping my mouth shut about it, and I'm finally able to talk about it. And I hope you guys really do enjoy the t-shirts that you purchase at mercmerch.com. And until next week, friends, stay safe, take care, and remember, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Bye.
Thought my old motto was a VA. I was working 4 cylinders to death. Put it on me, no teammate. Dreams running on fumes, no rest. You could bargain for my soul for a mention and a couple billboards, no less. Yeah, thank God for a couple roadblocks. I don't know if I'd have stopped where the road ends. Spent years looking for the real me, always came up missing. Yeah, tried to find it at the bottom of the bottle, and I promise ain't sipping. Drowning in my vices, I thought I was flying, yeah. Using darkness for my lighting, missing with the lines, trying to be the highlight, riding under the bright lights, breaking all the guidelines, yeah. Missed the boat with no lifelines, yeah. Screaming I don't need you, fighting but I'm free to, neon lights make a path for my breath like smoke in the cold every weekend.